Everybody get down on the ground. No! You think this is a joke? Get flat. It's a get flat, man.
Hey, Lepo, it's where the bomb buckler.
It's a belly now.
What the Ross doing?
Tell me where the money there. It's where the money there.
We not keep money at the yard, Lepo. You can't do that to this thing, I know.
Shut up your mouth. It's you cause this. Hey, boy. How you let your woman control the money? How you let your woman control your money?
No, Lepo, don't do it.
In the dimming light of a hot September Jamaican evening, a brutal drama was about to unfold. A story of betrayal, of desperation, and the violent end of a musical revolutionary. September 11th, 1987. Gunshots shattered the peaceful night on Plymouth Avenue, in an upper-middle-class suburb in Barbican, St. Andrew. When the echoes finally faded, 7 people were shot, 3 killed, including Peter Tosh, original Wailer, freedom fighter, outspoken activist. A room where music and friendship had been shared was now the scene of a horrific crime. Man was arrested, convicted, and died in prison for the murders. Yet the trial left more questions than answers. I'm Henry Kay, host of the #1 music history podcast, Rootsland. After spending 3 decades living and producing music in Kingston, Jamaica, I've learned there's a heartbeat beneath every song. Living archives of whispered secrets and unresolved tensions, just waiting for someone to pull back the curtain. Listen to what's been said. Maybe you're like me, drawn to the spaces in between the notes, the pregnant pauses where unspoken truth is revealed. Some mysteries were never meant to be completely solved. They're meant to be felt, to resonate in that liminal space between shadows and light, between truth and legend.
Urban legends. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Entertainer and reggae star Bob Marley, Rita Marley, and the manager of the Wailers, Don Taylor, are now patients in the University Hospital after receiving gunshot wounds during a shooting incident which took place at Marley's home at 56 Hope Road tonight.
How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look?
The passing of another Jamaican superstar, reggae dynamo Peter Tosh, one of the original Wailers, and passed away by the gun.
Glory to Jah, let him be praised.
Because righteousness govern the world.
Winston Hubert McIntosh, known as Peter Tosh, was born on October 14th, 1944, into a world where survival was an art form, and resilience ran deeper than the island's fertile soil. His early years growing up in the parish of Westmoreland were a testament to the complex rhythms of rural Jamaican life, a landscape marked by both profound beauty and systematic economic struggle. Rejected by his father, a local pastor, who Peter described as spreading a lot more than the Word of God. Abandoned by his mother, who was emotionally and financially unfit to care for the child. He was sent to nearby Grange Hill to be raised by his aunt, a devout Christian who forced her young nephew to weekly church services. And while Peter detested the preaching and sermons that he often viewed as hypocritical, it was in the church he gained a knowledge and appreciation for music. While he was still young, Peter learned quickly that survival required more than just physical endurance. It demanded a radical reimagining of possibility. Jamaica in the 1940s and early 1950s was a living narrative of post-colonial transformation. A place where echoes of plantation economics still reverberated through generations of Black Jamaicans, seeking their own definition of freedom. One day, after being mesmerized watching a musician playing guitar in a local market, Peter went home and built his own guitar from a sardine pan, broom handle, and some fishing line. For young Peter Tosh, his definition of freedom would be music. At the age of 15, after his aunt passed away, Peter Tosh made the pivotal decision to move to Trenchtown. It was more than just a geographical transition. This was an ambitious act of cultural migration, a journey from rural marginalization where he saw no future, to the pulsing heart of Kingston's musical revolution. A new genre of music had emerged from the ghettos, called ska, reggae's predecessor, and it was taking Jamaica and the world by storm.
Since 1959, the West End of Kingston, Jamaica has throbbed with a musical beat, a hypnotic sound of surging excitement and power. People hearing it became caught up in a frenzy and couldn't help moving to this pulsating, almost religious beat. This is ska.
Trenchtown wasn't just a neighborhood. It was a crucible for artistic rebellion, a place where young men like Tosh could turn their economic disposition into powerful cultural expression. Here, music became more than entertainment. It was a weapon of resistance, a means for financial stability, and a way of articulating the complex political and social realities of a generation emerging from the colonial shadows. His connection with Bob Marley and Bunny Livingston in forming the group the Wailers in the year 1963 forever changed Tosh and the world. This wasn't merely a musical group, but a philosophical collective. Young men, brothers, who understood that their art could be a revolutionary language. Tosh brought to this partnership his musicianship and a fierce intellectual rigor that complemented Marley's charismatic spirituality. Where Marley could charm, Tosh would challenge. Where Marley sought universal connection, Tosh demanded radical accountability. This friction, this yin-yang, is what made the Wailers a once-in-a-generation phenomena. In the unforgiving slums of Trenchtown, surrounded by the raw energy of Kingston's emerging musical ecosystem, Tosh's vision crystallized. He was no longer just creating music. He was crafting a new language of human dignity and self-awareness, a sonic representation of spiritual liberation that would resonate far beyond Jamaica's shores, eventually washing up on the south coast of Long Island, in a quiet suburban enclave known as the Five Towns, where I grew up. In the summer of 1983, right after graduating high school, I went with my best friends Andy Z and Dougie Dredd to see Peter Tosh at Pier 84 in Manhattan, an iconic concert venue located in an abandoned freight terminal on the city's west side along the Hudson River. The pier was the actual first stop for millions of new migrants arriving for the first time in America at the turn of the century, before being ferried across the pier to Ellis Island for processing. Pier 84 was rich in history, hope, and symbolism. And that night Peter Tosh took the stage was more than a concert. For many in the crowd, including myself, there was an awakening under those Manhattan stars. I was just 16, hungry for something beyond the suffocating limitations of everyday suburban Long Island life. When Tosh would show us all that music could be a way to emancipate yourself, regardless of who you were or where you came from, we all had the ability to transcend our physical boundaries. And like Peter Tosh, my definition of freedom would be music. The captured live tour of 1983 was by most accounts Peter Tosh at his apex mountain. When he walked out on stage, it was more than a musician. He was a revolutionary, a messenger draped in defiance, riding his signature unicycle, burning a giant spliff of Sensimilia, long before legalization. A giant FU to the Babylon system that he so despised. His presence commanded the stage with the gravitas that silenced the crowd instantly. His dreadlocks cascaded in the Hudson breeze like ancestral roots. His frame lean and powerful, radiating an intensity that spoke of resistance before he sang his first note. His voice, oh, Tosh's deep baritone. It wasn't merely singing. It was testifying. Each lyric was a liberation cry. Each phrase a meditation on human dignity. Between songs, Tosh would preach. His words were sharp intellectual weapons, cutting through political hypocrisy, religious manipulation, systematic oppression. All his greatest hits. When he played the song Legalize It, the crowd erupted and sang along with every word. We weren't just hearing a song about marijuana. We were witnessing a philosophical statement about personal freedom, about challenging systems that criminalize the poor and disenfranchised. And at the time, that was a progressive and courageous stance.
Don't criticize it. Legalize it,
When the song was originally released in 1976, Legalize It was banned from radio. Peter was mocked, belittled, denigrated for advocating that cannabis had healing properties and medicinal uses, especially by doctors and the scientific community. And now that same pharmaceutical industrial complex is reaping in billions in profit off of cannabis, wow, suddenly it's become a miracle cure-all for the 21st century. I guess we can finally congratulate the modern-day medical establishment for finally catching up with the ancient wisdoms of the Rastafari elders. But not before musicians like Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer, and Toots Hibbert were beaten for possession of herb and served time in prison for their stance, sacrificing valuable years of their careers.
Everyone is falling out for peace. Yes. None is falling out for justice. I don't want no peace till my brothers get equal rights and justice. We all need equal rights and justice. We got to get equal rights and justice.
When Tosh sang his song Equal Rights, it felt like a manifesto. The words penetrated as deep as the sound. You know, over the years, most aficionados and music connoisseurs always considered Bob Marley and the Wailers' 1965 classic One Love to be the quintessential reggae hit, its most defining song. The BBC even named One Love the Song of the Century back in the year 2000. But I always thought that Peter Tosh's Equal Rights better reflected the universal truth at the core of reggae's message. He sings, "Everyone is crying out for peace. None is crying out for justice. But there won't be peace until we have equal rights and justice." That simple, profound, and prophetic truth has never been more relevant. And whether we like it or not, it's the prerequisite for living in a world with one love and one heart. And what about the man who spent his life fighting for equal rights and justice for others? Where's the justice for the great Peter Tosh? His brutal assassination was not just the end of a brilliant musician's life, but a violent interruption of a revolutionary narrative and a profound metaphor for how power responds to genuine resistance. What does his silencing say about the truths he dared to voice? Peter Tosh, along with his bandmates Bob Marley and Bunny Wailer, sang the words, "Not all that glitters is gold. Half the story has never been told." They understood the truth was ugly and dangerous and does not fit into neat little boxes. And people, for the most part, as the cliche says, can't handle the truth. Yet the truth is, one of my musical heroes, Peter Tosh, didn't deserve to die like he did. Beaten, shot in the back of his head, lying face down on his living room floor. No, man, he didn't deserve that. And the real injustice is that those behind his murder never paid a price for their crimes. And the true motive for his killings has never been revealed. This is an invitation to take a journey with me into an unsolved tragedy that extends far beyond a single violent night in the suburbs of Kingston. Our goal isn't just to solve a murder, but to resurrect a narrative that powerful forces have tried to bury. This isn't just an investigation. It's a reckoning.
And I say give thanks for tuning in to the preview of Rootsland's Urban Legends podcast, which is produced by Henry K. Productions in association with My Vicebox Studios. Remember to click the link below and subscribe to YouTube at Rootsland Nation for the full episode. And also I implore you to sign the petition for the Jamaican government to reopen the Peter Tosh murder case. Blessed, 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 blessed.